The route today consisted of 9 stages, a total of just 30.94 miles. It featured the stately homes of Chatsworth and Weston, the fast tarmac of Clumber, Sutton Park and the Alton Park Race Circuit, and Trentham Gardens.
And no doubt that the event retains its immense popularity, and among the stars they appreciate most here, the defending world champion Carlos Sainz. Winner last year, second the year before. A phenomenal record for a man still relatively new to the sport. The Toyota first off, although last night they had a bit of a scare at scrutineering.
The Toyota failed the strict noise requirements for the British rallies, and the organisers told Chief Engineer Pfeiffer to go away and make the World Champion's car a lot quieter before they would allow him to start the event.
No problems on the opening stage though for Carlos Sainz. 2 minutes 26, the initial mark for them all to aim for. Ewa Kankkunen, the championship leader, 7 points ahead of Sainz, and needing to finish ahead of him at the end of play on Wednesday to claim his 3rd world title. He has the experience, he has the machinery.
It's his 10th RAC rally. With Juha Peronen since 1986, they've both got vast experience of the UK. Lancia, 5 times consecutively they won the World Manufacturers title. The 16-valve Integrale performs well on both the tarmac and the gravel.
Another man who went well last year, Kenneth Eriksson, 2nd in the Galant and the best of the current Swedish drivers. Genuine enthusiast, he's very pleasant, very easygoing, perhaps lacking the steel and determination to win.
It's his 50th World Championship event. He won the Group A World title for Volkswagen in 1986, putting up some amazing performances. I still predict that when the rally hits the Welsh forests, Kenneth will close the gap.
7th fastest on this stage with the Mitsubishi Galant number 3, holding tight onto that right-hander as away from the start went Frenchman Didier Auriol, one of the surprise packages of a year ago when he came in 5th. The first time that he'd actually seen any of these stages. 2nd in the championship last year as well, but the suspicion remains that he's perhaps not a good enough all-rounder to beat Sainz and Kankkunen consistently.
And he's trying to prove you all wrong. He's been working very hard on the Lancia suspension since Portugal this year. He was exceptionally quick on the gravel of Sanremo, an event which he won. If he's in the mood, he'll be in the frame.
5th quickest overall on the first stage, Didier Auriol, and that was level with Ewa Kankkunen. The Finn who drives like an Italian in a Japanese car prepared by a British team, and it still seems strange to see him in anything other than a Lancia.
But Marco's got a passion for rallying. He desperately wants to win the RAC rally for a 2nd time. He chuckles when everybody says that he wants to go to Toyota to win rallies. He wants to win this rally in the Subaru.
And he was fastest on the opening special stage. 2 minutes 24, a 2nd ahead of the rest. That Subaru, it looks square and bulky, but it does the job. Francois Delacour, the best of the recent newcomers on the World Championship stage, impressed with a 3rd place on the Monte Carlo at the start of the year. He was 4th in San Remo. He's quick, but will he enjoy the forests?
Well, Ford obviously have got a lot of faith in Francois Delacour. He is going to be a man for the future. And for the RAC rally, he's got to get used to the forests. This time out, he's got a new co-driver, Daniel Gratalup, with a lot of experience, but both of them are new to the RAC.
But he was 2nd quickest on this opening special stage of the 1991 RAC. The Nissan of London-based Swede Stig Blomqvist, back on the event after a 2-year absence. He's won it twice, the first time 20 years ago. Experience talking. Stig's done 81 World Championship rallies, and obviously if conditions favour him and the Nissan, then a top 5 finish is not impossible. He was 3rd quickest on the opening stage. The British hope, Malcolm Wilson, so much to offer, but he's been labelled promising for far too long. 11th quickest on the opening stage, while the British champion Colin, the 2nd of the rallying McRaes, is starting to encourage his dad Jimmy to be thinking about his early days in the sport. He's a definite threat to the big boys.
Colin McRae could be the biggest thing for British rallying. I predict that he will be the person to break the duck for British rally drivers on the RAC Rally since Roger Clark. This man is relaxed because he's just won the British title. That's what he's being paid to do. Now he's having fun by doing the Lombard RAC Rally.
David Llewellyn in a Nissan picked the wrong tyres and he struggled all the way round off line. And at this right-hander, it was a case of in off the post. After special stage 1, it looked like this. Marco Alain, no surprise there, quickest off the mark.
Second, Francois Delacour for France, just 1 second behind. Special stage 2, Clumber Park, 4.41 miles of very slippery tarmac.
Leaves on this stage made it a difficult one for the Subaru of Marco Alain. He'd taken the early lead by a second. He found it more difficult here.
Delacour, the leading Ford, and enjoying the tarmac of Clumber. He's got to do well today. He doesn't know anything about the forests of Wales tomorrow.
Sainz, meanwhile, is the man who needs to stay ahead of Kankkunen, and on this stage he was finding that a tricky task.
The surprise package, the Nissan, a Stick Blomqvist, going well. The little Nissan, the first time that British fans have been able to see the brand new car built in the UK.
The brilliant Finn Juha Kankkunen, twice world champion and looking on course for a third world title if he could beat Sainz here.
Sixth, Kankkunen's teammate in the Jolly Club Lancia, Didier Auriol, again a man that likes the tarmac, aware of the conditions.
Now if the old master can get it wrong, what about the young lions? Well, as far as Colin McRae in the Sierra number 21 was concerned, he did brilliantly. Second fastest time on the stage, 3 minutes 44.
David Llewellyn, still angry with himself with making a mistake on the first stage, is fastest overall on Clumber. The little Nissan really flying.
And Per Eklund, a brilliant performance from the privateer in the Lancia Delta, 9th quickest over Clumber Park.
And the leaderboard after special stage 2, leading Marco Alain and the Subaru. Second, 3 cars, world champion Carlos Sainz.
Here's the leaderboard after special stage 3, Rother Valley. The championship contenders Sainz and Kankkunen locked together in 4th place. It was Chatsworth, the longest of the day. Here, Alain punctured and had to run 3 kilometres on a flat left rear tyre. He was only 6th quickest. He lost 11 seconds, but he's always best in a straight line.
That's when Marco does get the car pointing in a straight line. Chatsworth, not his favourite stage. He's rolled there previously.
Didier Auriol, he struggled too around Chatsworth. In fact, he punctured right in front of the packed grandstand, and in all he lost some 21 seconds and dropped from 2nd place overall down to 10th.
It's rather surprising that Auriol suffered so much with a puncher, as he's on the Michelin ATS that are not supposed to go down.
Francois Delacour, a taste of tomorrow as far as he's concerned in Chatsworth, just 8th quickest.
I think Francois will be very happy just to keep the car in one piece and see how it goes tomorrow.
Looking out here for Carlos Sainz, he achieved a satisfactory time on Chatsworth, averaging around 48 miles an hour on the most difficult stage of the day.
You can see just how wet, twisty and slippy Chatsworth is. I think for 4.5 miles, the most tricky stage of the day.
Sainz, meanwhile, keeping half an eye on Juha Kankkunen, and he was on superlative form in Chatsworth, a treat for the spectators. He took 6 seconds out of Sainz, and with Alain and Delacour and Auriol all falling back, he leapt from 4th overall after special stage 3 to the lead.
David Llewellyn, 13 seconds slower than Kankkunen on this stage, and not liking the water as much as the Lancia.
And Llewellyn's teammate Stig Blomqvist, he put on a terrific show in the other Nissan. He was 5th quickest around Chatsworth, but he knows it could be a different story tomorrow. The Mitsubishi of Kenneth Eriksson, and here of course with the co-driver of the year, Staffan Parmanda.
Stefan, one of the most popular co-drivers in the World Championship scene. The Mitsubishi, one of the better cars over the bumps.
Malcolm Wilson, and he catapulted into the top 10, indeed into 9th place, better than his best ever finishing position in the event.
Malcolm's never had any luck on the Lombard RAC Rally, and he really needs a top 10 finish.
Now starting to look really good. Colin McRae, co-driver Derek Ringer, these two second quickest on Chatsworth, 3 seconds slower than Kankkunen, and up to 5th overall.
And McRae here showing the talent for car control that's made him famous in the British Championship this year.
And of course, Colin McRae has experienced teammates in Marco Alén and in Ari Vatanen. An inspired showing from the Finn on Chatsworth, 6th fastest, getting to grips with the Subaru at last, but still running in his seeded 11th place.
And I must admit, I'm a little surprised that Ari is going so well when he said he was trying to learn the car and go slowly to start with.
On to special stage 5, Donington, partly racetrack, partly on the loose in the middle, and rally drivers, of course, love showing how fast they can drive on circuits.
Donington was this year's super special. Each car starting at 20-second intervals instead of the 2-minute gap as normal. Using a combination of the gravel perimeter tracks, the old pre-war Grand Prix circuit and the modern Donington race circuit. Tyre choice here was a little difficult.
It was strange to see people like Kankkunen and Marco Alén and Carlos Sainz indeed all outclassed at Donington. Stig Blomqvist equalled Kankkunen's time, but that was only 10th quickest overall. Francois Delacour, he was equal 6th quickest. And it all left as the star of the show, just like his dad Jimmy, who loves the circuit racing, Colin McRae, just proving that the pre-event publicity has not gone to his head. Almost like the real thing. Into the picture, David Llewellyn, but he'd been off onto the gravel, and that had delayed him. He was thanking his four-wheel drive. Kenneth Eriksson was only 14th fastest, rounding the Wheatcroft suite. Malcolm Wilson up with Delacour, Duez, and his teammate Gwyndaf Evans. Didier Auriol, he set the 5th fastest time here, and that improved him. He was now up to 9th overall. This is the leaderboard after Donington. Marco Alén still out in front. Juha Kankkunen improved to 2nd place with Carlos Sainz right on his tail, just 2 seconds behind. What a great showing from Colin McRae in the Subaru Legacy. 4th place for him. This is Sutton Park, and this is broad country.
Absolutely. For many, many years, Sutton Park was my home. Used to walk the dog here. Seems a little strange to watch it from the outside now, with rally cars racing around the tracks. And a very, very tricky stage indeed.
Marco Alén first through, but he only set what proved to be 3rd fastest time, a second off the pace. Juha Kankkunen, quickest again. The Lancia had really picked up, and Kankkunen shot into the lead here.
Coming down towards the Sutton Town gate, in front of all the main spectators and the grandstands.
Carlos Sainz, world champion, but 5th in Sutton. He lost time again to Kankkunen, some 4 seconds, and dropped back to 4th overall. Sainz fighting the Toyota on the slippery surface.
Colin McRae in the middle of the afternoon with his lights on, controlling his Subaru with absolute expertise. And McRae, of course, now up to 3rd place.
Stig Blomqvist, equal 8th quickest, and he was now running 5th on the leaderboard. The little Nissan looking fairly sure-footed around Sutton.
And a subdued time by Delacour, just 15th fastest, quite a surprise for a tarmac expert.
Kenneth Eriksson, 12th fastest round Sutton, but even so, that was enough to keep him 7th on the leaderboard overall.
Malcolm Wilson really enjoyed Sutton Park. Must have been something I said to Nicky Grist. Into the top 10 now, 8th overall.
And it did prove to be a quick one from Malcolm and Nicky. 5th fastest round Sutton. Just starting to go really well. But what of Didier Auriol? Again in the Lancia Delta, he thinks he could improve on last year's 5th on the RAC, but
Didier trying very hard to impress his sponsored, who this year sponsored Sutton Park Stage.
Quietly making his way up the leaderboard from 11th place, Ari Vatanen. This is in the 3rd of the Subarus on the leaderboard, but officially the 2nd of the team. So, as dusk fell, Weston Park, the other side of the West Midlands from Sutton. Ewa Kankkunen in the Lancia, seemingly taking it very easily indeed. 4th place on the overall times in this section was good enough for him.
Marco Allen, only 8th on this stage after a spin, and he lost 6 seconds. A really tricky stage, Weston Park, because it's very narrow and you've got to keep it in the tram lines.
Getting better all the time. Brilliant at Weston, Stig Blomqvist. Fastest on the stage in the RAC for the first time since 1987.
Colin McRae, 2nd quickest on Weston, as the light fails, and Derek Ringer calling the notes.
2 further stages where they needed lights like lasers. Kankkunen in charge with Championship challenger Sainz 3rd, 8 seconds behind.
The Gallant 5th.
A look at the fabulous stages of the 2nd day.
Including the demanding 22 miles of Hafren.
The 2nd of the day, 1,500 feet up in North Wales. Kankkunen lost 5 seconds to Sainz on the 1st stage. Here on the 2nd, he snatched 3 back. Sainz with only the 9th quickest time, but just 3 seconds slower than Kankkunen. McRae, a sluggish start, but then he improved rapidly.
And here, Kenneth Eriksson, the dark horse, still in contention in the Gallant.
Dazzling form from Didier Auriol. 3 fastest on stage times on the 1st day, another here. Daybreak over Bala, and a very tough stage ahead. Kankkunen, the overall leader, but he was well off the pace here, and it was difficult for him to explain why.
Sainz gained 7 seconds on Juha here, but complained of an oil smell in the car.
So it was young McRae. All the stops open, he blasted through the stage for his 2nd successive fastest time. Suddenly, he led the rally overall by a second from Sainz.
Kenneth Eriksson in the Gallant, struggling to keep up with the Flying Scotsman.
Auriol, equal 8th quickest here, 13 seconds slower than McRae.
Marco Allen struggling with gearbox problems on this stage and now in 6th position.
And a glimpse of Ari Vatanen, improving but misfiring.
Biasion started the day well, but he struggled on this stage.
The finish flag for a Swede, Stig Blomqvist, 5th quickest here. 2nd fastest though, Gwyndaf Evans, replacing the sacked Fiorio in the Sierra. He was on his home ground, though that's seen the end of his efforts in the past. Heading towards central Wales, and the man from central Scotland extended his lead, his 3rd successive fastest time on stage. Colin McRae, the first British leader since Llewellyn 2 years ago.
Carlos Sainz, he doesn't have to beat Colin McRae, only Kankkunen to get the world title.
Kankkunen dropped another 10 seconds to Carlos here, while Eriksson dropped a place to 5th, a turbo problem.
Frenchman Didier Auriol, Equal time with Colin McRae. And now up to 4th place.
The big Finn in the wars, dropping from 6th to 10th with a puncture.
Harry Vatanen, 59 seconds off the lead, in 6th place.
Biassion back up 2 places to 7th as Alain and Blomqvist fell back.
A damaged rear suspension held up Gwyndaf Evans on this stage.
Louise Aitken-Walker, a quiet rally for her. She was running in 21st place.
Finland's Lassi Lampi, a regular visitor to the UK. He's been here for over 20 years.
The Group N leader, but only by a second from Scotland's Robbie Head.
Leading German Michael Gerber, 24th overall, in the Group A Toyota.
And the Dutchman, John Bosch, 28, still getting used to the car on the loose surface. So at 10 in the morning, with another 8 stages to go in the day, the order was like this. McRae seated 21, but leading the big boys. He's in Wales, though, where he clinched his British title last month. The Haveren Forest in the middle of Wales, overlooked by Plinlimmon, some 2,500 feet up. Very slippery. Colin McRae paid for the wrong tyre choice and dropped from 1st to 4th.
Now let's look at this again in slow motion and see just how hard the Pirelli tyres that McRae uses are working on this hairpin. The other Subarus are on Michelin, which has meant that Subaru have had to split up their service teams.
Carlos Sainz, brilliant in Haveren. He tested here extensively and he went into the lead on the rally for the first time this year.
Saints really getting to grips with the Welsh forests.
Juha Kankkunen, meanwhile, he was some 30 seconds slower than Carlos.
And he really couldn't explain his lack of form.
Lancia's Didier Auriol, by contrast, though, he put last year's experience when he came 5th to brilliantly good use.
Fastest by 24 seconds, over a second a mile faster than anyone else. Superb.
Up from 4th to 2nd. Kenneth Eriksson in the Galant, back to full power and up to 5th place overall.
And not making the expected impression on the leaders.
Now here's possibly the most popular man in rallying, Harry Vatanen. Back in the World Championship with Subaru, laundry service on the RAC is that much better. He was 7th fastest in Haveren. Mickey Biassion, 3rd quickest, but slower than his teammate Auriol.
But the Lanciers generally showing that their extensive testing is paying off.
In Wales, in the Nissan, David Llewellyn holding a top 10 position.
But he broke a drive shaft later on this very stage.
Gwyndaf Evans in the battered Sierra, staggering through Wales now. He was almost in sight of his own home at this point.
But I never feel he really shines in Wales under the pressure of a home crowd.
Margot Alain, gearbox repaired, but now complaining of running hot.
Louise Aitken-Walker in 20th place. She stopped on the stage to help teammate Malcolm Wilson, who had stopped with transmission problems and eventually retired.
Lassi Lampi, 15th overall, but a tree planting operation required after this rally. The next stage, across the Dovey Valley, up near Corris. Carlos Sainz retained the lead with the 3rd fastest time on this stage.
Didier Auriol, 5th here, and he stayed 2nd overall.
The surprise among the Lanciers was Juha Kankkunen. Eventually, he improved here, reduced Sainz's lead over him, but only by a second. He stayed 3rd.
Colin McRae, fastest time again. Good tyre choice this time, Colin.
Kenneth Eriksson, still 5th, still 52 seconds off the lead.
Harry Vatanen, 9th quickest on the stage, only 13 seconds adrift of fastest time.
But just a second behind Vatanen overall came Mickey Biassion, 6th quickest on this special stage. Picking up the pace, Marco Allen, 4th fastest here and up 2 places overall to 8th.
Finland's Timo Salonen, an unspectacular 9th overall.
The top Nissan by now belonged to David Llewellyn. In 10th place, following Stig Blomqvist's fall back with prop shaft trouble.
The local favourite, Gwyndaf Evans, 12th overall.
And the leaderboard halfway through the day. Carlos Sainz, without seemingly making maximum effort, ahead by 4 seconds. Remain packed with spectators, some too close for their own good. Carlos Sainz, 4th quickest, not good enough to retain the lead.
Didier Auriol, fastest time, 14 seconds quicker and really flying.
Juha Kankkunen, a mile a minute and more. 2nd fastest, still 3rd overall.
McRae losing 37 seconds to Auriol, only 9th on the stage.
Tricky stage this for Kenneth Eriksson. He spun twice and lost 5th place.
Harry Vatanen didn't go so well in Dovey. He lost 6th place on this stage.
So it's Mickey Biassion charging into contention. He equalled Kankkunen's time.
Marco Allen enjoying himself, 5th fastest here.
Here's Timo Salonen, 9th overall and not gaining.
And our last view of David Llewellyn. He stopped with electrics failure, took 30 minutes to find the fault and had to retire out of time.
Tommy Mäkinen struggled, 17th place overall on the leaderboard, but at least he's still in. Gwyndaf Evans crashed here and retired. The stages clustered together here as the rally turned back north again. In Penmachno, Didier Auriol retained his lead, clocking the 5th fastest time on this stage. The world champion, Carlos Sainz, he pulled back 3 seconds, his confidence high. But what was wrong again with Juha Kankkunen, only 8th quickest here, another 11 seconds dropped to Sainz. Colin McRae making sure of a place in the top 5. Mickey Biassion popped up with the best time, 12 seconds behind McRae now. More trouble for Kenneth Eriksson. Differential problems, 6th fastest on the stage. Marco Allen, turbo fixed, gearbox fixed, full bore through Penmachno, equals 2nd fastest. Harry Vatanen, 10th quickest, an all-round steady performance today. The Marco managed. Francois Delacour, the best Ford, but for how much longer, Mike?
The fire extinguisher in the engine bay went off all by itself, cut the engine, and poor old Francois didn't know what to do next. It took a full 2 minutes to restart the Ford. But I must admit I'm very impressed with the way that Delacour is handling his drive, the first time he's ever seen the British forests. Eventually, Francois gets the engine going, and it drops him just outside the top 10.
With Colin McRae fastest on the last special stage of the day, a result which crowned a remarkable 24 hours for him, he'll be reseeded 4th when the rally heads for the Lake District. The 3rd day, and the loop into Scotland. It's the longest and most difficult day of the whole rally, to be absent by the end of it. The first look at Grisdale of 1991, and the world champion was slowly away. Only 5th fastest on this section. He retained the lead, but only by 7 seconds. Didier Auriol quickly into his stride again. Fastest on this special stage. But Kankkunen hates Grisdale. He dropped another second here to Carlos Sainz as he recorded only the 8th fastest time. The Subaru legacy of Colin McRae. Under orders to attack, he came through 2nd fastest, only a second slower than Didier Auriol. Kenneth Eriksson came through 10th fastest, that cost him 5th place overall. Marco Allen, up and down the leaderboard in his typical style, 3rd quickest through Grisdale. Ari Vatanen, with yesterday's misfire not completely cured. And Timo Salonen, solid yesterday, it could be time for him to attack. Stig Blomqvist, electrical problems relegated him to 10th fastest on the stage. The best performance here by Francois Delacour, 3rd equal time with Marco Allen. From the short Grisdale onto the long one. Carlos Sainz in trouble here, overheating, and he could only manage the 7th fastest time. Rapidly becoming a brilliant all-round star, Didier Auriol, his 10th fastest time out of 23 stages. Kankkunen, 3rd quickest, 15 seconds faster than Sainz, just 18 seconds between them there. But the crowd waited to cheer only one man, the local hero Colin McRae. 4th overall going into the stage, they had to wait longer than expected. When he eventually appeared, it was in a much revised Subaru legacy. He'd rolled 8 times. McRae's teammate, the big Finn Marco Allen, 8th quickest on the long Grisdale. A much improved showing from Kenneth Eriksson, up 2 places overall to 4th after the 3rd fastest time on the stage, despite an off at McRae's bend. Ari Vatanen, 6th fastest here, down to 6th on the leaderboard. And Timo Salonen starting to pick up the pace. Tommy Mäkinen had made the step up from Group N this year, but he's retired on both RACs he'd attempted previously. Louise Aitken-Walker, 17th overall. My mum can drive quicker than this, she said. And Stig Blomqvist, 12th quickest through Grisdale. Memories of that fabulous battle with his old pal Per Eklund in 1987. On that occasion, Eklund overhauled Stig at a second a mile, only to be disqualified later. So, Auriol the leader after Grisdale, Sainz holding off Kankkunen in the battle for the championship. With McRae out of contention, the old hands have control of the top 5 places. As far as the special stage winners are concerned, it shows that Auriol is starting to dominate the rally. Traditional RAC rally weather, and that produced liquid mud and gravel.
Didier Auriol extended his lead by 4 seconds over the rest of the field on Kuhn.
Next through, Carlos Sainz. The overheating apparently cured, and he appeared to be settling for staying ahead of Kankkunen.
And he did. Kankkunen 5th fastest here, dropping 2 seconds to his championship rival.
6th fastest on this stage, Kenneth Eriksson. That meant he retained 4th overall.
Marco Allen equalling Sainz's time, 5th overall, and now reeling in Eriksson.
The second of the Subarus now, Ari Vatanen, consistent top 10 times.
Timo Salonen now in 7th place overall, the highest position of the event so far.
Stig Blomqvist better performance from him after attention to the transmission.
Frenchman Delacour in the Ford, much happier on the third day, having learned how to drive on the forests.
Hannu Mikkola, he's running just outside the top 10, but not making any mistakes.
Lassie Lampi, no fireworks from the amiable Finn. Per Eklund, one of my old drivers, getting on a bit, but still the top privateer.
And here's McRae, over 13 minutes off the lead after that roll on Grisdale, but second fastest here behind Oriel.
Tommy Mackinnon, now running in 14th place overall, having had a poor day in Wales.
And Robbie Head, leading Group N in a car that he borrowed to do the job. Drizzling rain and a treacherous surface on Withup. A big crowd gone down to the woods today.
Oriel, quickest again here for the 12th time of the rally so far, looking unstoppable.
Here's Carlos Sainz in the big Toyota, second quickest through here. That ensured that he stayed ahead of his great rival.
Juha Kankkunen dropped another second to Sainz, now 21 seconds behind the champion. Kenneth Eriksson, 6th quickest through Withup, and still 4th overall.
But a glimpse now of another Subaru in trouble. It's been one of those up and down RAC rallies for Marco Allen. Here he's down, needing help to go back up. Going too fast when it was too slippery, and that tippled him over the edge. Teammate Ari Vatanen goes through and realises that he's in 5th place now. Marku needing the help from the crowd. Eventually they get it moving. Marku rams it into gear. The RAC just wouldn't be the same without the crowd helping Allen back onto the road.
Timo Solonen now up to 6th place overall after Marku's mishap, a reward for a safe, steady trip round.
And Blomqvist coming through, transmission fine, 6th fastest here and 7th on the board. 10th fastest through Withup, 8th overall, an impressive debut for the young Frenchman.
Colin McRae, a battling drive through Withup, 2nd fastest again, equal with Carlos Sainz.
But the dramatic moment on that stage for Marco Allen. But everybody knows Marco, he never makes a crisis out of a drama. This is Hannu Mikkola in the Mazda on the rather bleak stage of Washup. 9th overall going into this particular stage, 7 minutes and 17 seconds off the lead. Didier Oriel, a rare event today, not fastest on the stage, and you can see why.
But despite that moment for Oriel, Carlos Sainz only beat him by 3 seconds.
Juha Kankkunen in the Lancia continued to drop precious seconds, 6 of them gone to Carlos on this stage.
Ari Vatanen, equal 5th fastest here, keeping the Subaru in the middle of the track.
And Timo Salonen, 8th quickest, 6th overall.
Sweden's Stig Blomqvist, experienced the key, he ran 9th quickest through this stage.
The top Ford, indeed the only Ford in the leading 10, with Francois Delacour.
Hannu Mikkola, now 9th overall, and picking off the places towards that top 5 leaderboard.
Marco Allen, back fighting, 7th quickest in that delayed Subaru, and running in 10th place.
Colin McRae with the much modified Subaru, but still trying hard. On
to the other section of Washup. And Didier Auriol, after that brief blip on the last stage, was fastest again, 3 seconds quicker than the rest of the field.
But Carlos is still keeping the pace on Auriol. Second quickest, 29 seconds behind the leader.
The problems were all Kankinen's. He couldn't close that gap to Carlos Sainz. He lost another 6 seconds here.
Kenneth Eriksson. He wasn't happy with the suspension, he changed them, but he still wasn't happy with the car.
And Ari Vatanen slipped a touch here, 9th quickest, but still in that safe 5th place. It looked like this with 2 special stages to go, but then it all happened in the dark on Kielder. Subaru was suddenly down to 1 with Marco Allain and Colin McRae missing after the penultimate stage of the day in Pundershaw. Also out Stig Blomqvist, the little Nissan on 3 wheels after Reedsdale. Didier Auriol had 1 adventure too many and dropped from 1st to 11th, losing over half an hour. Fears of Carlos were justified. Watching the gauges instead of the road, he went off and lost the title advantage. Start the final leg, a long special stage in Dalby. Just 4 stages left of the Lombard RAC Rally, all of them tricky in the misty conditions up there on the North Yorkshire moors. About 43 competitive miles to round off the whole of the event. And quietly satisfied at the way everything had turned out, Ewa Kankinen leading the rally and almost 6 minutes ahead of his great championship rival, Carlos Sainz.
But he's not taking any risks, because he's too much aware of just what's at stake.
Hard on the tail of Kankinen, second through the special stage, surprisingly. Didier Auriol, running 11th on the leaderboard, but he'd given up his own ambitions to help Kankinen win the title.
He sacrificed 9.5 minutes of road penalties by booking in early to be behind his teammate in case of problems, ever mindful of what happened in Kielder.
The Screen Sports tip for a number 1 finish. Kenneth Eriksson running second, but needing luck to go 1 better.
Eriksson was second on the stage, just 4 seconds down, threading his way through the massive Dalby crowds.
Next through, slower even than Kankinen. Carlos Sainz had to hope that the Lancia hit trouble.
He was well aware that his world title was slipping away. Only 5th here, 18 seconds adrift of fastest time.
And you can tell from this shot just how conservatively Sainz was driving. Meanwhile, quietly inheriting places up the leaderboard, the Finn Timo Salonen in the Mitsubishi. Well aware, however, that Ari Vatanen was closing.
Ari Vatanen in the sole surviving Subaru, trying hard to catch Salonen, but slowed here by steering problems.
Even so, he was still on course for his best finish since he won this event back in 1984. And now, a great view of Francois Delacour. 6th on the board, the best 4. Doing exactly what Colin McRae achieved last year. Glimpse of Marc Duez complaining about the dreadful weather, says it's given him flu.
Former Monte Carlo winner Bruno Sevi, 8th fastest here. Louise Aitken-Walker, having not competed since June, she took her time to get back in the swing. The main problem was she had to change 4 gearboxes on the Cosworth.
Another fine showing by a Scot, Robbie Head. If he stays online, a piece of B seed is the reward for next season.
Dave Metcalf in the Little Nova, only 1600 cc's and two-wheel drive. Slowed here by a slipping clutch, but generally a good event for the Cumbrian.
The top German in the rally, Michael Gerber, running 12th overall. And Gregoire de Mavius, the Group N World Champion, 17th in the Italian prepared Mazda. The rigours of Dalby over, Langdale was tackled next in early afternoon. Reporting a satisfactory run through, Ewer Kankinen. No problems.
Fastest again, Didier Auriol, 11 seconds, faster than anyone else in 11 miles, continuing to chaperone Kankinen.
Kenneth Eriksson was second quickest, but only 2 seconds better than Kankinen. He too was looking for a Lancia failure.
Fourth for Carlos, 17 seconds adrift, and now the title hopes are ebbing away.
Timo Salonen still holding off his great rival Ari Vatanen by a second here.
Ari goes round the tight chicane, which is man-made to try and slow the cars down from the average speed of 70 miles an hour.
Francois Delacour experiencing problems in low gear, struggling with first and second.
Hanu running better now after the Mazda team had attended to the electrics.
Turned out to be a foggy end to the day and to the rally. Ewer Kankinen appropriately led the way, a last fastest time for him. He tackled the last day in the right fashion.
And a quick word for the brave co-driver to Juha Peronen, with Kankinen since 1986.
Great end to the rally for Didier Auriol, but it was a disappointing result overall, but his contribution to the Lancia cause can't be underestimated.
18 fastest times on this event, with Bernard Uccelli reading the notes.
Kenneth Eriksson, another superlative drive by the unflappable Swede, his second successive second place on the RAC.
With co-driver of the year Stefan Parmenter in the hot seat, just watch the glowing front discs on Eriksson's Mitsubishi.
Carlos Sainz, he continued his run of good finishes on this event. Ewer Kankinen even saying Sainz will win more world titles.
And a quick mention for co-driver Luis Moya, one of the up-and-coming young Spaniards.
Timo Salonen through next, running in a steady 4th place. A fairly uneventful rally for him overall.
With Voito Silander reading the notes. Voito's previous job was a nightclub bouncer.
Here comes Ari Vatanen, in the end well short of Salonen. You can probably hear why.
Bruno Berglund reading the notes for Ari, a Sweden-Finn combination.
Next up, Francois Delacour, the best Ford finisher. One of only 4 European cars in the top 10.
A good performance for Francois. Watch his performance in the RAC Rally next year. Daniel Grateloop, his new co-driver, learning the RAC.
Hannu Mikkola, 7th for the Finnish Master. His record of world titles now eclipsed by Ewer Kankinen.
Best result this year for Hannu, 8th on the Acropolis was the previous one, with Jonny Johansson calling the notes. But no piece of seed for the 4 times winner of the RAC Rally. Louise Aitken-Walker and Tina Turner. Best finish on the RAC for Louise, 10th overall, 17th previously.
Robbie Head takes the Group N title, 24 minutes ahead of Jeremy Eason, the man from Oakham in Rutland. Scotland's honour preserved and the B seed in the bag.
Dave Metcalf, top of his class.
To Kankinen, the glory and the world title for a 3rd time. A remarkable double for Lancia, Drivers and Constructors Championships. And for Italian motorsport, when their Formula 1 teams are at such a low ebb. And a look at the rest of the honours board for Group N, the showroom class.
Rally, Juha Kankinen and his co-driver, Juha Turunen.